Hey everybody, Randy here in Eastwood Garage. Thanks for joining us for another live video on Facebook and YouTube. Today Matt's here with me and we're going to go over all kinds of metal cutting. So before we start really cutting metal, as you saw, we're cutting with our bandsaw. A must-have for probably about every garage. You can cut tubing, flat stock, round tubing, bar. You can cut rectangle tubing up to 4x6, 4.5-inch round stock. It's got 3 speed settings. It even adjusts up to 55 degrees so you can cut angles. And another nice thing about this is that you can use it vertically or horizontally. Wow. So you can just attach that right there. You know, great for sheet metal work. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this one because I'm pretty sure everybody here knows the importance of a good saw and everybody wants one of these in their garage. So I'm going to plug it, push it out of the way, turn it over to Matt because we've got all kinds of shears, brand new shears that are new to Eastwood as of the last couple months or even weeks, and the VersaCut 60 plasma cutter. So I guess, Matt,
cool,
let's get started.
Yeah, so as Randy mentioned, we got a bunch of different tools from cutting thick to thin, and a lot of times we have people that ask us questions on which one to use where or why. So we figured we'll give some tips, and I wanted to show a few of my favorites and where and when I use those and why they're good. So first one we have here is our throatless shear, benchtop mounted throatless shear. The great thing about this is that it does cut curves in panels. You can cut, we rated up to 18 gauge, but I've pushed it a little further on some occasions, but it can easily cut 18 gauge, no problem. Now the cool thing with this, it has this area that's most throatless tools you'll see have where the metal can kind of go around as you cut. So I'll show you guys, I'm going to go in here, draw a curve on this, and then we'll show you guys. So I'm just going to do a rough drawing there. So with this tool, you can cut really nice without any type of issue. One key is to make sure that you cut, when you're cutting, that you are actually putting your drop or the waste material. So we're going to say this is our waste material here. We want that on the right side because that end's going to tend to curl off some when you do start cutting. So it's going to deform that section. Now another tip that I see people that are just first using these is they tend to want to pull a whole bite with the handle all in one pull. It's tough to be accurate and it ends up kind of wanting to curve the way the blade is off of your cut. When you get out into this last, I'd say half or 3/4, you know, through the blade, it tends to gets difficult to stay on the line. So what I do is I usually just use that back half. You also have your more leverage there, which is nice. And as you work, I'm putting pressure in with my palm in as I cut. So that kind of feeds it in like this. And then as I go, I'm turning it a little bit. Now if you have a curve like this that's kind of complementing the blade, I can start using more of the blade here. Trying to do a straight cut. Yeah, so this is what I was mentioning. This, I don't know if Joe can get it, and I'll show you at the end. It's really curling that piece. I mean, it's helping us because it's not catching.
Pushing it out of the way.
Yeah, it's pushing it out of the way, but if that's the piece that we wanted to use, we're screwing it all up. So that's why you just got to think before you cut which piece. Blade here, we're not doing a straight cut. I can go further down, and I'm just turning the piece as I go. Cut it off. You can see this is, trying to get a shot here. You can see this is nice and straight. The panel isn't wavy. Sometimes when you use different cutting tools, it ends up making your piece all wavy there. And if it's something, we obviously want it to be nice and straight.
Yeah. Now you use it a lot.
Yeah.
So, and even though you use it a lot, you've got you've got a tip for, you know, people out there. I guess we using snips or to really make it like if you really wanted
it here, and then maybe just below that line is going to be my actual cut line, like down here. So what I do is this gets you close. We can cut it real close to our shape that we want it to be, and you can even get closer to that depending on how comfortable you are with this shear. And then what I do is, especially if we're butt welding the panel, I'll take, and this has got a little
Safety
here so you don't guillotine your fingers, or if you have kids around, you don't want them missing digits real early on in life. So what you do, this is a trick actually, I always, if it's something I'm welding, a patch panel, we're butt welding it together, I use a scribe to scribe a sharp line for what we're cutting. So it gives you a nice sharp line. A cool trick, and this is actually something that Rainey just mentioned that you see Mark, he's one of our product designers, R&D guy. This is a trick he does, which shows up really great on camera for you guys, and if your eyes aren't good. You can use marker or layout fluid, machinist layout fluid on it, and you could scribe your line over top, so it really makes it show up.
and it's real exact compared to a Sharpie marker.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially an old Sharpie marker keeps getting fatter and fatter.
Yeah, they get up to like an 1/8 inch off. So I a lot of times scribe it, and I don't use the marker, but it's real. You really got to pay attention to what you're cutting.
Mm-hmm.
I have fairly decent eyes still, so it's not a problem. But this is really helpful. So what you can do is I cut this piece off with the throatless shear, and I got a little bit of extra that we want to cut right on that line. So what you do is you use your aviation snips, 10 snips, whatever you guys decide to call them, but you can use these. We got a couple here on the table for different, depending on the way that you're cutting and where you want the scrap metal to come off, you can use the different ones here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right on that line with the snips.
And those are the left cut.
Yeah, so we want them to go up. So you notice it's going up and off, out of the way. It's not curling into my hand here.
So left cut actually means the material goes off to the left.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're making a left-hand turn.
Right. Yeah, and you can flip these. We have a cool video Mike Phillips showed, some little tricks like flipping them over, not upside down, but what people would call upside down, to get the material to come off how you want. So there's no rules necessarily. As long as it's cutting nicely for you, you're good. So I'm just going to...
And don't forget, if anybody has any questions,
yeah,
Scott's over there. We'll have to cut to him in a second. The fans.
Scotty C.
He's got plenty. He's got enough fans out there. So, do we have any questions yet, Scott?
That was good right now.
Scott's in demand. He's holding it down. I know this is exciting here. So yeah, but what this is doing, I'll try and get I don't know if Joe can get a close-up here, and I'll try and do this little cut on the scribe. But I'm keeping that very point of my snips right on that area, on the scribe line. So you can be really, really accurate with this. Now we're getting into our corner. Come around. And one thing is, as we're cutting more of this material, you see it's making a little curly cue. So it starts to get a little more difficult as you go because I'm trying to curl this whole piece. Your arm's probably going to start getting tired. I'm not going to question your masculinity if you cut that little piece off there and keep going. Make your life easier.
It's like a little ornament. You take it home.
Yeah, it's a great thing. The byproduct is a little crafting thing. You can give it for a present to your girlfriend or your wife. Put some sprinkles or some sparkles on it. And
Some sprinkles.
some sprinkles. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Some jimmies.
Yeah, put some jimmies on it.
If you're from, I guess
All right.
that's just a Philly area term.
So there's the cut, right on that scribe, nice and accurate. It's clean. There's not really any burrs on it, which is really nice. So that's something that we can fit in. And if we cut the other piece here and scribed it accurately, we should be able to fit this right in, butt weld it. Everything's great. So these tools are not a replacement for the most basic, the most everybody has these in your box.
Yeah.
These are really good for that fine detail work that you need to do when you're making really nice patch panels or cutting something that's precise.
Make life easy on yourself. Use those for the final trim.
Yeah, exactly.
Use a big tool for the actual cutting.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of those.
So now we'll go to the rotary.
Yes.
The rotary shear. All right. So now we're going to go over here to our rotary shear with ratcheting handle. So we're gonna get started here. We good? We're just sticking on. We're gonna let Joe reposition. It's the same basic concept as the shear Matt was just using, where it's a throatless design, and you can see I've already cut about half of it, so you can see. Maybe Joe can pull back a little bit then. Oh. So you can see how it's already coming out. So I'll start. Is it in here? Are we ready? You good? Action. So like Matt said, just take a little bit at a time and try to stay on the line. Now the one thing with this shear is it's pretty easy to take a lot, because this shear, the design of it, it actually pulls the metal in by itself. The jaws are actually pulling it in, so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's nice on that particular model, because with the other one, I have to push with my palm to actually get it to feed in. So that one you can focus more on your cut, rather than feeding it with your hand. You can kind of cut.
So here you can see that's like one long pull.
Yeah, it's a lot longer of a cut you can do with that one than with the traditional throatless shear.
Yeah, because the traditional one you can only go the length of the jaws. Yep. Where this, you can go this whole length. So as you can see, like if you were making a wheel tub or something like that, it's pretty easy. Now I'll cut a straight line here quick. I got a short one just to show. So if you did want to cut straight, I try to do it on basically one pull. So if you were coming all the way over here, try to stay on the line too. Are we good? All right, so like I said, you can sort of do, instead of nibbling, if you were making one long cut,
yeah, it's nice and
you can basically, almost one pass, you can almost do the whole thing. And you make a nice nice straight cut too.
Yeah, so that ratcheting one's definitely, if you have trouble with feeding it and working both hands, that one's
and you can do 16 gauge. So this, it's pretty nice. You can do the shapes and everything like with the other one. It's just got a ratcheting feature.
Right, which is really nice. You don't have to reach across.
So I guess Scott, do we have any questions? Good right now. Okay.
Sweet.
Well, then we'll go back to see what other products we got.
So cutting thin stuff, is one thing, but when you want to cut, the longer stuff here, I think we got this.
Oh, yeah. If you're just joining us, if you have any questions, that shows fans. Let's cut to Scott over there. Scotty C. There he is. Everybody's favorite lead tech advisor, here today to answer your questions. Scott, it's a nice shirt. Do you get that for Christmas or anything? Did you get that over the holidays? I haven't seen you in that one yet.
Yeah, this one's probably from about 2003.
And
Archives.
Somehow, when you wear it, it's still in style.
Still fits.
From the archives.
It still fits, yeah. Some people around here can't fit into the clothes they were wearing in 2003.
I can.
You can?
I can't.
Yeah. Joe tries to. Joe's our camera guy, so.
So we got the straight cut shear here, which the cool thing about this is, with the straight cut shear, if you're doing thinner stuff, you can cut nice straight lines. You can do
sheet metal.
Yeah, you can do a full sheet if you want. Draw your line on there, and just the nature of the tool allows you to cut just nice straight lines, which is great for. I use it for that from time to time, but the reason I really like this tool is because it can cut thicker metal with ease. So we rated up to 11 gauge. I have some 1/8 inch or 11 gauge here.
That's 1/8 inch.
Yeah, and we have some 14 gauge here. So I'll show you the 14 gauge real quick and how easy it is to cut. I like this because if I just need to cut something really quick, I don't necessarily want to fire the bandsaw up and wait for it, or the plasma cutter. I don't make it sparks if I don't have to. It requires additional cleanup. This just cuts really nice and easy, leaves no burrs or anything on the metal. So we can check out, and Joe can probably show you. There's
like no burrs or anything.
Yeah, it's just a nice clean cut. So something like this, you basically just clean it up a little bit with some Scotch Spray. You're basically ready to weld. Want to see another one? Well,
move up to the big boy size.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys the 1/8 inch here. So I'll show you the difference in the thickness.
While he's in there, before we.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you can see it. The hole, you can actually cut round stock too.
Yes. Yeah,
we got the hole there.
We got the. Once we get that, we'll show.
I thought it was right there. It is.
There you go. So you can see right in there, you can actually cut round stock with this, which is cool because again, I'm getting out a hacksaw, a sawzall, the bandsaw, and cutting it. Makes one nice clean cut with that. So this is, again, 1/8 inch. So I'm going to put that in there. This one has a really nice long beefy handle, which is good for when you're cutting the sticker stuff. So I just use my weight and just lean down on it. And I know I'm shaking the table there. But the cut is freaking awesome. It's really, really clean. Again, I mean that you just clean up with a little bit of a sander and you're ready to weld whatever you're doing there. I don't have to grind off any slag from the plasma cutter. Again, you're not setting up the bandsaw and waiting. You can cut this real quick and just keep moving. So this thing is really great for that. But again, you can cut thin sheet metal with this and cut nice long straight lines and it's no problem at all. But I find this really useful for cutting that thicker stuff really quick and easy when I'm making brackets or things like that.
All right, well, we got a couple more. We're going to show the electric shears, which actually, Joe, you're probably going to be over here, actually. I should have. I've changed my positioning since I'm right-handed. So one of my favorite products, when I bought this, I actually bought 2 or 3 extra sets of jaws because I thought I would go through them, and that was a few years ago. I think I might still be on the first set. And I've cut rusty metal, like cutting cars apart. You know, I mean, you can cut right through it. I thought the rusty metal would really
kill it.
Destroy the jaws, which I'm sure it's not as good as clean metal. But this is it really, I mean, especially when if you're buying sheet metal, I really like them. You buy a 4x8 sheet and you're cutting it down for patch panels. This is what I like more than any other tool. So, ready? So nice and straight, easy to use. If you ever have any issues, basically just comes down to making sure you get it at the proper angle.
Yeah.
That's usually, because if you're struggling with it, you probably have it tilted just a hair, and you'll find once you get it in, it'll almost go out of control. You can make little arcs with it too.
Yeah, and the one thing I like when you're doing on car, you can loosen this jaws and turn the head so you can actually.
I can actually show that I brought this out. So
yeah, so like Randy's saying, if you're doing something where you're cutting something on car, or if you got a big sheet that you're trying to cut and you're having trouble where you can't get the right angle, the jaw actually rotates, so you can spin the head around to get a better, angle.
So you can actually,
and you can still cut. So if that's more comfortable for you, that works well. That's a feature I don't think
like that, or
I don't think that we shout about enough. It's really handy, especially on car use is really nice.
And it's really easy, just one little Allen.
So this one does take out a little section in the center. So if you guys are laying out a panel, make sure you just remember which side of the line you're cutting on, because it will take out that little strip.
Because you get those, if it's done right. I mean, I've cut 8 foot by 4 foot, 8 foot long, and you end up with a coil about 18 inches long like this, just cutting an 8 foot sheet in half. I'll show a little bit of an angle here. Doing a little bit of an angle cut. If I can hold this down, see if I can get in here. Oh, let me do this the other side. You good, Joe?
Sure am.
All right. So you can do angles with this? I think I said angles, and I meant arcs. You're not doing a 90-degree angle, but you can make curves and arches with it. I'll take it out here.
Yeah, and that thing is the same way with a lot of these other tools. There's no burrs, there's no rough edges on that.
Pretty much, it really is. I mean, this was the first shear.
Again, your blade life, your jaw life is going to decrease, but it will cut 16 gauge. You just can't push the tool too hard, but it will do that. But I mean, 18 gauge it'll cut all day long.
Yeah, it cuts. Like I said, I can't imagine how many feet of sheet metal I've cut, because I've gone through many 4x8 sheets, cutting them in length, cutting, to get the patch panels, and
heck yeah.
I love it. All right, so we got
Yes. So
a
we got
newer one for us.
Yes, we have another one. Again, we're always we're listening to you guys when you're telling us, and gals, when you guys and gals are telling us about products that you would like to see us carry. So we have a ton of people have been buying the electric shear that Randy was using for years. We've been offering that. And we had a lot of people asking for a throatless style where it does not take the piece out of the center. You can cut a little bit tighter of a radius with it, which is really nice. And this one's a little more easier to use with one hand because of the way this is designed. So you can hold it like this, and it just has a simple on and off switch that you can turn on, and you can cut with it. So I'm going to cut a curve with it. This is just like the other shear. You got to have it the right angle, so you might see me moving it a little bit to get that right angle, but you really feel it when you get in the right spot. So I think we got the other one there, and show the, oh boy.
Make it a little bit sharper.
A little bit sharper of a corner, and when you're doing with the other electric shear, you got to kind of rock the handle to get these, when you start getting into curves, to get it to cut right, which sometimes leaves little burrs. This one's nice that because it doesn't take that piece out of the center, you can really make a tighter radius cut, and you're not getting those little areas where you're trying to reposition the cutter to make a sharper corner than it needs. So that one's really handy for that. Again, you can see with one hand, it's a little easier to cut it. So if you are cutting something where you need your other hand to hold the piece, the metal, it's a little easier to use. So and that one as well, it's 18 gauge all day long, no problem with it. And it's nice to cut. So that's a good one to have in the toolbox as well.
So if you're just joining us, we've been going over all kinds of cutting materials.
Yeah.
The only thing we have left is the Plasma 60. We've got 3 plasma cutters, the 20, the 40, and the 60. We're going to show you the 60. If you want to watch this recorded, it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube. We went over our throatless shear, the rotary shear with ratcheting handle, the straight shear, electric shear, snaps, the new electric throatless shear Matt just demonstrated.
Yep.
And if you have any questions here before we're done, Scott, anything yet? All right, Scott, if you have any questions, Scott will answer them. We'll throw them over to us. So let's check out the VersaCut 60.
Yeah, so this is talking about if you want to cut a tool that'll cut, I'll stand out of the way so you guys can see it. If you want to cut thick or thin metal, the VersaCut 60 will pretty much run the whole gamut. I mean, you can cut 20 gauge with it if you want, or you can cut all the way up to 7/8. We even have a customer, I like to reference it all the time. We have a video on YouTube that a customer did all on their own where they have a solid 1-inch round bar, and the guy cut through, through the video. Yeah, I watched it a while ago, and the guy got this, and I think he was trying to make the machine fail, and he said, I think he said in the beginning of the video, I'm just going to see what this thing can do, and he had a 1-inch round solid bar, and he cut through it, and I mean, of course there's slag on it, there's residue, but he cut right through that bar. It's another one of those things where we rate the machine to cut 7/8. That's not an issue when you got your consumables all new, but we like to see when customers push stuff and prove out the product.
If you guys are out there using